Thanks a lot. It's for extremely powerful performance. Angela Aldebs, a dancer and performer from Damascus, Syria, who is living nowadays in Helsinki. Angela Aldebs arrived in Helsinki more than a year ago through Artist at Risk residency program. And Artist at Risk has a pleasure to welcome you all to Risk and Rebellion Symposium today. Angela Aldebs is staying in Helsinki now as a professional artist. Artist at Risk works with professional artists, as you can see based on Angela's performance. Artist at Risk was founded in 2013 and it works in intersection of arts and human rights. I'm Marita Muukkonen, co-founding director of Artist at Risk, together with Ivor Stodolsky.
I'm Ivor Stodolsky, also co-founding director of Artists at Risk, and we would like to just welcome you to this day-long symposium. It's going to be a long symposium and then 2 hours of a concert celebrating or commemorating, however we put it, the 10th anniversary of the Egyptian Revolution. And today also we are commemorating, celebrating the 20th anniversary of the founding of the World Social Forum in Porto Alegre in Brazil. This symposium has multiple functions, and it's an experiment in a new form of online production, which we have never done before, so bear with us, please. I would like to just point out that one of the key functions, aside from we start with art and we end with art, but one of the key functions is participation. So we have many chat boards. Please join them. Go to Telegram, go to Facebook, go to YouTube. Ask your questions. They will be filtered out by our moderation team and brought back to us. One of the key functions that I would like to also emphasize before we continue is that aside from just presenting you with a full program of thought-provoking material, I hope, we want you to know that Artists at Risk has an open call. It's always open. So if you know an artist who's at risk, you can apply in 9 languages. Read the open call. Please apply. And pass that on to your channels, your networks.
We'll go a little bit back into history. It's Ivor mentioned that we are here today also in the eve of Egyptian revolution. And actually that takes us back to those times when Artists at Risk was founded, because we both are curators and we have worked with politically engaged artists. And at that time we were working a lot in Egypt and in Middle East when the wave of revolutions happened. And before that we have worked with dissidents, for example, in Russia and Ukraine. And it became clear to us that there were artists who were fighting for freedom, human rights, freedom of speech, for economical justice, for social justice, for basic rights. And they were peers, they were colleagues, and they were in need of short breather. They had to get out because they were putting their lives at risk. And therefore we established first a residency program, then an institution, which is providing shorter and longer breathers for art practitioners who are fighting for all of us for those basic freedoms we can't risk today. And as we speak, we saw yesterday that there were big demonstrations in all over Russia, for example, and more than 3,000 people have been detained. So basically there was the wave of revolutions. But these battles are not over. We have witnessed what is happening in Belarus for more than 6 months now. So basically there was a wave of square movements that day, and there has been backlash which we have witnessed. But there are struggles going on. It's every day. And we are also going to talk about those struggles today.
That's correct. And just to give a little bit more of a panoramic overview of Artists at Risk's network, we are anchored in Helsinki, but we've had up to approximately 19, now 20 former, current and future Artists at Risk safe havens around the world. And we're very pleased that today we will be joined by some of our newest members who are setting up Artists at Risk residencies in India, Sri Lanka, and in London and in Tbilisi. So these Artists at Risk safe havens are places where artists in that part of the world can go to or be hosted for short or long-term residencies and stay out of harm's way while they continue to do their work. And we treat them as artists. We don't treat them as, refugees, as people who are, need pity. These are great professionals. These are amazing, amazing artists. And we work with them as artists on a peer-to-peer level. That means we're equals. And this is something we hope we kind of continue to do in our work. So today's seminar or symposium, which will go on for until 8 o'clock Eastern European time, is about facing a world in crisis. I think I'll just read a little bit from the general concept, so you might have heard this before. It's on the webpage of artistsAtRisk.org. Risk and Rebellion is a symposium about what it takes to face a world in crisis. Artists at Risk stands at the intersection of the arts and human rights. And the crises of our times are also intersectional, entangling multifold societal, economic conflicts, ecological emergencies, and multi-causal forced migration. So these are many things we're talking about. These are big topics. But we're saying we're not going to be satisfied with talking about just one because they're intertangled. And so we're going to start today's symposium with the focus on artists with Chapter 1. And in Chapter 2, we're going to go 20 years back to the beginnings of the World Social Forum and then bring it up to where they stand today. In Chapter 3, if you want to continue, please go ahead.
In Chapter 3, we will talk about the movement of the squares we referred to already. It's basically they started in 2011 and they are going on until today, as I said, in Moscow, in Belarus, and so on. And from there, we will move to look at the situation, especially in Egypt, Tunisia, and Syria, the situation after revolutions there. And the last chapter is about the most burning crisis of today, ecological crisis, and that refers to our work also because the new branch of Artists at Risk is Ecologists at Risk. There are more ecological defenders murdered than journalists, for example, in Latin America today. So we are kind of all the time referring to contemporary situation and going back to the history of the movements.
And of course, if you think about it, what does an artist at risk do when they're at risk? They got to go. They have to move. And people on the move need to go somewhere. And where do they go? They migrate. They try to get somewhere else. So a lot of our residents have crossed continents. They've come all the way through 5 different countries to reach us. Angela Aldebs spent about 1.5 years gaining enough papers to go through 3 different countries in order to gain a visa to reach Helsinki. It was an incredibly difficult process. So these things make us, if we may, have a quick look to remind our audience of what our continent has done to the rest of the world in a way by not letting them in. We've posted here a list of, I think it's currently 44,000 people who have drowned in the Mediterranean Sea. That is our wall as Europeans. We have to face that we have a separation wall. We have the wall that we criticize America for, or Israel, or China, or other places. This is our wall. 44,000 people died in the Mediterranean. We're going to keep this here, and it references an artist who we would like to just discuss in a second.
It's just to remind, that's the actually deadliest wall in the whole wide world. That's the European wall.